men's playoff action between the Calgary Dinos and Manitoba Bisons. Now, the Dinos snuck into the postseason after a red-hot January. Then the prehistoric cooled down in February, finishing the season 1-3 while dropping 2 games to these very same Bisons. Could Calgary get back on track and take 2 of 3 on the road? To the peg we go to find out. Midway through the first, Channing Bresciani throws one on net. Warren Colas buries the rebound. It's 1-0 Manitoba. To the second period now, Manitoba up 2-0. Rhett Brooks with the wraparound to put the Bisons up 3 bagel. Calgary's Elgin Pierce would narrow the deficit to 2 goals, but that's as close as the Dinos would come. Next night, late second, Calgary's Elgin Pierce drifts in front of the net and tips it home. That's his second goal in as many games. To the third, and who else could it be? Pierce with his second of the game. Halfway through the third, Manitoba on the PP, and Brett Stoven makes it close, but the Dinos would walk away with this one, forcing a third and final game. And Game 3 was all Calgary. Already up a goal, courtesy Spencer Edwards. He strikes again on the power play, stuffs this one home. Calgary up 2-0 after 20. In the third, the Prehistorics blow the game wide open. They score 4 unanswered, and Calgary moves on to the semis with a 6-1 victory. Over to the other quarterfinal, Birds and Cougars from Cowtown. Midway through the first, puck in the corner, Jamie King spins and fires it upstairs. MRU takes a 1-0 lead. Second period now, and David Stevens makes no mistake. It is 2-0 Cougars. UBC would crawl back thanks to Austin Vetterell, but it would be Zach Henry with the absolute snipe. MRU takes the first one. Mount Royal already up 1 in the first before Connor Ranking stretches that lead to 2. Fast forward to the third, UBC down 4-2. And it's the Thunderbirds' Vetterell capitalizing on the juicy rebound, and it's a 1-goal game. Later in the third, and it's Grant Baker with the snipe of his own for MRU to go back ahead, 5-3. Cougars added 2 more to take it 7-3. The semifinals are now set with the first one. The Dinos travel to Saskatoon for a best-of-3 with the Huskies. Well, in the second one, it's a Battle of Alberta between the Cougars and the G-Bears from the Chuck. Over to the women's playoffs now. The Cinderella Dinos roared into the postseason, going 10-3 since November 28th after an abysmal 2-13 start to the season. Calgary eked its way into the postseason, only to face a steady Regina squad that is outstanding at home. Cougars know how to protect the Den, going on a conference best 10-4. No scoring in the first, but late in the second frame, Regina on the prowl. Megan Shervin's shot gets kicked out right on the blade of Chelsea Parapelic. She fires it in the yawning cage. Regina's up 1-0. 1:21 into the third. Dinos even things up. Megan Grenon with the slick feed to Brownwyn Stevens. She goes shelf. We got a tie game. On the ensuing face-off, Cougars' Caitlin Dempsey breaks free and buries it. That is the game winner. Regina takes it 4-1. The next night, this power play goal from Bailey Braden in the first stood up as the game winner. Regina moves on to the semis, sweeping the Dinos. From Regina, we head north on the Louis Riel Trail to Saskatoon, Bisons and Huskies. First frame, Lauren Zeri shows off her foot speed, fires a beauty feed to Caitlin Willoughby, who puts it in the onion bag. Green Dogs up 1 Cobb. Third period, Huskies now up 2-0, courtesy Willoughby. She completes the hat trick, depositing it into the empty net. Huskies go ahead in the series with a 3-0 win. Game 2, late in the first, Huskies open the scoring. Julia Flinton rips this one by Amanda Schubert, but Manitoba would respond with 5 unanswered, the 5th coming from the sweet hands of Kaylee Weens. Bisons force a third game, taking it 5-1. Sunday night, clean sheet, and this is how it got started.
Huskies win the opening draw by Lauren Zeri. Julia Flinton loses it. Sharman comes in, had one last night. There's a shot. Quick save and a quick goal. Already off the opening faceoff. Lauren Keene buries. It's 1-0 Manitoba, 11 seconds in.
Bisons jump out to the early lead, and it held up until midway through the third. Camera operator, courtesy Drunken Uncle Productions. But we've got a tie game to the fifth, yes, the fifth overtime. And Velena Hovey finishes the longest Canada West game ever played. Bison stun the Huskies, taking the series 2-1. So here's a look at the semifinal matchups. Will the Herd have anything left in them when they travel west to meet the Pandas in the first semi? While Regina will head to the West Coast to face the T-Birds. Now to break down the opening week of the hockey playoffs, we are joined by Darren DuPont. Now, there was a theme on the ice in Saskatoon in women's hockey. The theme was a marathon. You were there to see it. Game 3, the longest game ever in Canada West history between the Manitoba Bisons and the Saskatchewan Huskies. What was your takeaway from it?
Well, we know Rutherford and what kind of a building Rutherford is. It just seems like she wants to hang on to as much hockey as possible. It wasn't that long ago the men had, 3 overtime game to win the Canada West against Calgary. There was the long series against Regina, also not that long ago in that building. But, it was good, tough hockey. Manitoba, they were down to 2 lines for most of that hockey game. The Huskies were playing 3 lines. It was tight. And the emotion in that building, the energy in the building was phenomenal. It was great. And once you get into the second, the third overtime, then everybody starts talking. What's the record? How long are we going? Because I believe it was 12 and a half minutes into the fourth overtime was the previous record, and that was Saskatchewan Regina in Rutherford. So the building is used to some long hockey games and seemed to hold up. But it was a great game, and much like you see a lot of time in overtime, the Huskies were controlling a bulk of the play, but when it went the other way, Manitoba was able to capitalize.
Well, the structural integrity of Rutherford was probably challenged during that overtime as well. What are your thoughts about the semifinals coming up on the women's side, first of all?
Well, you look at, Manitoba, it's going to be tough. They got to go on the road again. But how big was it to go on the road, lose the first game in Saskatoon, and then come back and win that series, especially the way that they did in overtime in that type of a marathon. So I think that can do a lot for your psyche and their mental game. I think they're going to have a real good opportunity in Manitoba. And Regina in Alberta, Regina UBC should be another good one too. Regina's built themselves a really strong program, but UBC, they gave them a run in one of the final weekends of the year, splitting. And when you've got goaltending like UBC does, you always have a chance. Yeah,
you've got Daniel Dubé, the former national team netminder, at the young age of 39 between the pipes for UBC. Over to the men's side now, and the Calgary Dinos. This is a team that has been red hot and has been on a run since their win at the Crowchild Classic in front of 13,000 people at the Saddle Dome. How difficult is it for a team to go in and take one of these 3-game series on the road when you've got to play all 3 games on the road?
Yeah, it's got to be tough. You don't get a chance to go back home. You got to take care of business, and you're in unfamiliar territory. But Calgary's been doing it. They seem to have everything clicking at the right time. I mean, Elgin Pierce, I think he had 6 goals in Manitoba on the weekend. I mean, just phenomenal. So when you get going, they've been there before. They've got some of the guys who have been in those situations. Anything can happen. So they've got some magic on the road already. Let's see if they can carry it into Saskatoon.
What are your thoughts on the series coming up in the semifinals?
Yeah, both of them. I mean, starting here in Saskatoon, nobody can expect or would have expected the Huskies to have the season that they did. I mean, to put up 20 wins after the dismal year that they had last year. They improved their recruiting class up front, but who would have thought they'd be led by those rookies, and those rookies would lead the way in Cole Baumel and Levi Cable and Andrew Johnson. They've been phenomenal. They've got probably the best backhand in the Canada West and arguably one of the top goaltenders in Canada West or the country in Jordan Cook. So they've got a chance when they do that, but they are still a young, inexperienced team, and this will be their first taste of the playoffs for a good chunk of this group up front. On the other side, I mean, I talked to Dave Adolph not that long ago in Saskatoon, and he talked about the Alberta Golden Bears and that recruiting class they had several years ago. Their fifth-year players, he thinks, is the best recruiting class that any team in the country might have ever had. And that's big words. And those are guys like Levko Koper, Cruz Reddick, Jordan Hickmont, Jordan Rowley. they're phenomenal. So people think Alberta has taken a step back. Well, they still had 19 wins. The interesting thing is the Mount Royal Cougars. They've been phenomenal, and they've actually had Alberta's number at times this season and been able to beat the Golden Bears. So I'm really looking forward to these two series. I wouldn't be surprised if they both win 3 games.
Thanks very much for this.
You bet. Thank you.